Hi, welcome to the newly launching podcast, Cinema A to B. This is my co-host, Alec.
Hey, everybody.
I'm Ben. So the reason we're doing this is we've been having conversations. We've been friends since, 2003, 2004, somewhere in there. And we've been having great conversations about movies and television throughout that time. And I regret not recording it. And so we're going to fix that. And these are not movie reviews. I think I want to stipulate that. This is a discussion. And why should you listen? Maybe a different perspective, right? So Alec, why don't you give just a brief background, kind of where you've worked and lived and kind of how that ties into what we're trying to do here.
Sure. So I'm definitely much more on the acting side of things and very interested. So I've been doing that for pretty much most of my life. Done a lot of kind of, commercial stuff like you can see behind the scenes things or like History Channel, like reenactments, but ended up living out in Los Angeles for about 5 years, trying to pursue acting, been on lots of sets, was able to get a little bit of success with doing voiceover work. So have a lot of that stuff going out, but definitely this has been my interest, been my passion for years, and kind of doing that. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. And my background's mostly in video and film post-production. Alec and I actually were roommates in Los Angeles for 5-6 years. I think I was out there for 6. And worked on a few movies, a lot of independent movies as an editor and colorist. And now I work in basically commercial advertising, doing video production, videography, and editing. So we're not really industry insiders anymore. But we're not like the average moviegoer either. So I think I place us in between those two camps. And so I think our perspective is a little different.
Yeah. We're going to get a little technical in some things, you know, but not overly. That's not our stick. So.
No, I don't want us to get into the weeds. Again, these are not movie reviews. Like, we're not going to be going down through a checklist of story, acting, cinematography, editing. We'll touch on those if we feel inclined, but these are just discussions, open, off the cuff discussions, conversations about recent movies, recent streaming series. Admittedly, neither of us watch a lot of network television, so we're not going to be doing a bunch of episodes on things running on the big networks.
No CSIs on this
no CSI. Sorry, mom and dad. No CSI reviews. But we will certainly, and we consider, I've probably said this before, but we consider cinema, the streaming series now, our cinema. They fit squarely in that box. They're 10-hour, sometimes longer, 12-hour movies. They look like movies. They sound like movies. They have the budgets of movies. So I feel confident labeling that stuff cinema. I'm sure there's plenty of people who disagree with me, but that, for the purpose of this podcast, that's how we're going to treat it. So we're not just going to do 2 and 3 hour feature film discussions. We'll have conversations about streaming series that we really enjoy, and frankly, some stuff that we maybe didn't care for, because I think that has value too. Yeah.
And I think one thing to stress is these are kind of very, like you said, discussions, off the cuff, not really making any type of prep work, maybe, rewatching the movie if we haven't watched it in a while, or television show. And it's really more of a conversation between, you and I, Ben, and less about, we just wanted to record it for posterity's sake. So if you enjoy them, great. If you don't, this is not your thing. This is just the two of us wanting to, have these conversations and a little bit more.
And kind of have a back catalog. Like I said, I've really regretted not doing this sooner.
Yeah.
Because we've had many great conversations over the years on things that we'd seen, and we've not been roommates since 2010 or 11, somewhere in there. Yeah. So, and we live on, I'm in Kansas, you're in Virginia.
Yeah.
But we tend to see a lot of the same stuff. And so there's usually either a chat or a phone call subsequently after both of us have seen something that we really enjoy. I've always enjoyed discussing this stuff. Something we both love. So yeah, I just encourage people to tune in, check this out. And yeah, the goal would be just maybe a different perspective. And occasionally we can give you some nuggets or insight on maybe how something was done, or I'm always on the why. Why did a director make a certain decision? And so maybe we can add some of those fun nuggets. And
or something that's technically really interesting or difficult to do, like say a rack focus in layer cake, going from the outside, from inside to outside.
Actually, rack exposure.
That rack exposure. This is
rack
I'm the
exposure.
actor.
No, yeah, and something most people wouldn't do in their right mind.
Yeah,
and I'll have to point in the comments on this where to look at the layer cake rack exposure, because most people wouldn't do that. They would light the interior of the building as bright as it is outside. They just pump it full of light so they wouldn't have to rack the exposure. They decided to go all out, and it's impressive. But yeah, that's a perfect example of something fun that the average moviegoer doesn't really notice what's happening. That's extremely difficult to do.
Yeah.
Very difficult. So anyway, yeah, this is just a kind of a brief summary of why we're launching the channel. Hope to have you tune in. We're going to drop these once a week. I'm not quite sure yet what day. I'm thinking maybe just Monday or Tuesday or something like that. Probably a Monday. Drop these on Monday morning. One a week. Trying to keep them to 20 to 25 minutes. And
we may go over a little bit, but
but we're not going to do the 2 hour or an hour and a half podcast on a movie. I think it's insane. Frankly, I don't have that much to say. No. So you might, but I don't.
I do like to talk a lot, so that happens.
Yeah. So cinema A to B is what we're
very short.
What we're launching. Yeah. Very short. From me to you. And we're excited because, again, this is something should have probably done 5 years ago, but better late than never in 2023. So check us out.